This is a Schlumberger, I believe, or WAVETEK SI4031 Stabilock communications test set. Picked it up relatively cheap. It was reported to have had issues, but the seller just put unable to test. You just take the gamble, don't you? Hopefully it's just a power supply fault normally. So I've got it home, I've powered it up, and as you can see it does power up. So as a start, we're going to check the supply rails and the 10 megahertz output, but we'll do that in a bit. But first of all, I thought I'd show you what the symptoms are of what the faults I've found. So we're going to auxiliary, that button there, and status. That tells us a little bit about the unit. We can look at the revisions. If we run the self check, we get a nice sequence of little flashy lights. And then we can run the self check. As you can see, we've got some failures. Right, to start the repair process and gain access to the cards, we need to remove the base. There's a plate on here with multiple screws that needs removing. If we remove that, that gives you access then to the actual removable cards. Cards are very easy to remove. We'll just lift the tabs and they slide out. There are a few SMX, I believe, connectors on there, which as you remove the cards, you will need to disconnect these. They just simply pull up. Just do it nice and gently. So that'll give you access to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards there, which is your FM modulator, your decode synth, I believe, the UHF synthesizer output unit, and the duplex meter. There are service manuals available on the net. As I say, Paul Kelly, G3 SDH, has put a little bit of a write-up, and there are links to the WAVETEK IO group where you can download the service manual for this. This is the rear of the unit. You don't need to remove the top and bottom covers to gain access for these. These cards can simply be slid in and out. There's just a screw at the top, screw at the bottom, and you can then slide the card out. I'll show you with that. There you go. So it's simple as that. The cards are numbered 1 to 10. Some of them are optional, so you may not have those on your unit. Listing the cards in order, we've got the AF detector with a 10 megahertz output. This is the optional card. Then we've got the IF unit, generator A, generator B. This one's a control interface A. Then we've got a slave computer. Then we've got data module. Then we've got monitor control and host computer. Now on the host computer there is a 2.4 volt rechargeable cell. So I'm going to have a look at that and see if that needs replaces. And then obviously the last is the power supply, and that can completely slide out. And it is recommended as well that you change all the caps in the power supply as well. So yeah, without further ado, let's get on with it, and I'll show you how I tackled changing some of the capacitors on the boards. I did try with a solder station on the hot air, and it wasn't very successful, to be honest. It caused the cap to explode. It caused other components in the neighbourhood area to start moving about. I did put some caps and tape around stuff, but it just wasn't successful. I tried the soldering iron on each side of the tabs of the SMD caps, and after 2 I gave up on that because all it was doing was ripping pads off. So the best method I found was basically to cut the cap in half, heat up the legs that were remaining, and the caps lift off. Anyway, I'll show you a short video on how I tackled it. It's not probably the best way to go forward, but I haven't got rework station equipment such as tweezers that are hot, soldering iron based, so I couldn't heat up both sides of the cap at the same time to do that. There does seem to be a certain amount of lacquer on the board, so even with a hot air gun, it just wasn't successful at all. It just didn't seem to budge them, to be honest. In fact, I felt that more I was going to damage the board than it was actually lift the component. So the way I've done it is not the best way to do it, and I'm not suggesting that you do it that way, but it's what I did. From our calibration check, we can see we've got some failed units. Everything's modular in this, they're all basically cards. I'm going to follow an approach I found online, and I've been talking to Paul directly via email. Paul Kelly, that is, G3SDH, has done a basic write-up on the best way to approach the repair on these, and he suggests really where we start is the power supply. Obviously, if there's many major faults, that's where it will stem from. We've got three rails. We've got a 5-volt rail, a -15 and a +15 volt rail. The next thing to do is then look at the 10 megahertz output on the rear and see how accurate and whether it's drifting. And from there is then another modification where each of the cards are removed and all of the 10 microfarad capacitors are replaced. They're all SMD devices, but I'll show you roughly where if you haven't got extender cards, because all the modules at the rear here just pull out. The other modules are on the opposite side, they drop out, but you can't work on the modules inside. You do need extender cards. Unfortunately, I haven't got any at the moment, so what I'll do is I'll show you where you can measure the power supply simply, and effectively we're going to remove the top cover, which we've done. We're then going to remove this plate. Okay, so we will then remove the top plate, and then we've got over here the three rails where we can actually do our measurements from. So I would say the easiest place to check the supply volt rails once this top's removed is just at this point here. There's three small pads. On those pads there is your 5 volt, your 15 volt and your -15 volt. And the order is, the first pad is 5 volt, followed by 15 volt, followed by, so if we do a quick check of the 5 volt pad, we're reading 5.093. The 15 volt rail, we're reading 14.912. And the minus rail, we're reading -14.968. I would say those are all within tolerance. This is my GPSDO unit, and if I just show the comparison of the output of that. These fluctuate a little bit, but I'll put it on a slower time scale. It's probably a hertz out on this meter. Right, we're now measuring the 10 megahertz output. The unit's been running for about 15-20 minutes, so it's had a good time to warm up. The output can be taken down from down the bottom there. It is 50 ohm rated, and it should be 10 megahertz. And obviously then we're just going to feed that into our frequency counter. This is the output from the 10 megahertz socket on the rear of the 4031. It's showing around about 3 hertz out. What I've got to do next, I've got to replace, according to the best practice with these units when they've got these faults, is to replace all the SMD 10 microfarad and 2.2 microfarad capacitors. They're small can devices, SMD. There are some larger 47s and 100 microfarads, but it's recommended you only change those if they show signs of leakage. But I think as a matter of course I'm just going to change everything that is SMD. I have gone through the cards and I have found a couple of chokes that were open circuit, 2 of them. I'll show you where those are. The cap change, my preferred way to do it is basically cut the capacitor in half with a pair of cutters, which will expose the 2 pins, and then just drop your soldering iron across the 2 pins and it should take the pads off. I've tried using the heat gun, I've tried using the soldering iron, and all it's doing is damaging pads. So I found this way to be about the best. I'll just show you what I mean. Okay, an example, on the capacitor, cut it as low as you can. There's a little ring, sort of cut it around that, which will end up leaving it looking a little bit like that. Then just take your tweezers or your cutters and squeeze it from the left or the right, and the aluminium cap should lift off, and it should expose the pins like that. So then you can just drop your solder iron across there and it lifts them off quite nicely. Up to now I've done about 20 caps like this and they seem to be working quite well. I've had one, I think you can see just there where the track did lift. Fortunately there's a wire right next to it which is attached to, so I can just put the cap across there. But this is the problem with changing the caps. It's not the easiest job in the world to do. Okay, those 2 are both done now, so all I'll do now is drop some solder across both of the pads, let it warm up a little bit, and then the component plastic base and the legs should just come off as one. Unfortunately it's quite hard to do this and hold the camera, so I'll have to do it off camera. That's the result of removing the heating up 2 pins. It seems to be the better way I've found of doing it. I've tried multiple ways and all I'm doing is damaging the PCB in places. As you can see there, I sort of ripped the pad off trying the hot air gun. Other components are being heated up and moved around a little bit with the hot air gun. The soldering iron, you can only sort of lift one side unless you've got like a pair of tweezers, I suppose. If you've got a tweezer type soldering iron, that might be the solution. But unfortunately I haven't got one, so I've just got to find the best way for me. I've got to clean up what I've taken off the components with isopropanol, and then I'll drop the new components back in, which should go in without any problem at all. Right, we've completed all the modifications. We've changed all the SMD capacitors, 10 microfarads, 2.2, quite a few 47s, a couple of 100 microfarads, all SMD. I also found 2 RF chokes that were open circuit. I'll show you which boards those were on. And what I'm going to do now, I mean you're seeing this for the first time the same as me, so I'm sort of hoping now that it's going to pass. I mean we've done everything that I think I can do. I followed Paul G3 SDH's recommendations of the modifications and fixes. He has got documentation on the net. If you Google his call sign you should find it. But so let's go into auxiliary status, agent revisions and self-check. So we've got a nice set of flashing lights, which is always nice. They will still seem to work. Let's start the self-check. Well, look at that. That's the holy grail of all tests. I've got a self-check passed OK. So we would see the cap modification, a couple of inductors. I haven't adjusted anything else. Basically everything I've done has just been basically removing the cards, replacing components. I haven't got any riser cards at the moment, so there was no way I could do any tests. I've checked the output. While we've had it running, checking the 10 MHz output, I set up a frequency of 400 meg at -30 dB, and I've been monitoring it on the spectrum analyzer, mainly to see if there's any frequency drift at all, and there's been nothing at the moment. It's been running now for nearly an hour. The frequency counter is now 2 Hz out, so the oven crystal is obviously probably up to temperature now. There was an issue with the attenuator. There was a 20 dB chip pad that had gone faulty. I have put that in a different video, the fix for that. So yeah, I'm relatively happy now.